Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel which is Explore Yourself, Banking and General Knowledge, etc. From Mailroom to Corner Office, A Banker's Journey by Dr. R. Srinivasan. This is the cover page of the book. Today, that is 8th July 2025, I am sharing episode 12. These are the YouTube links for episode 1 to 4. These are from episode 5 to 8, and these are from episode 9 to 11. Back to Banking, Andhra Bank, Hyderabad. The chapter Back to Banking continuing. Now, in this episode, subchapter will be Andhra Bank, Hyderabad. My posting was in Madras, Lingi Chetty Street. I joined on May 10, 1960, and my job was to organize their foreign exchange department. As I mentioned earlier, the bank had very few branches and the total deposits was only rupees 23 crores. They still catered to the needs of their clients in matters relating to foreign exchange, such as giving exchange for travel, getting LCs opened to cover imports, negotiating export bills, and giving guarantees, etc. The snag was that the bank did not have full-fledged license to deal in foreign exchange. They had restricted license to deal in sterling only. My experience in National Bank of India Limited stood me in good stead in planning to set up the FE department of Andhra Bank. I had only one assistant, Mr. Komuru Veeranjaneyulu. He was very good at his work and was very dependable, and together we ran the department. My immediate challenge was to get from Reserve Bank of India a license to deal in all currencies. To stake a claim for that, we needed to handle substantial business in other currencies and build a case. Until such time we got the RBI's sanction by arrangement, we handled business in other currencies through Bank of India and United Commercial Bank. Never could I have imagined what was in store for me. In Bank of India, Armenian Street, Madras branch, there was an officer called Shri P.S. Santanam in the FE department. We developed an excellent personal rapport. He was very good at his job and was very helpful to me. If I make an honest confession, my knowledge of foreign exchange matters was vastly improved and sharpened because of the help and guidance I got from him. Similarly, there was another person, Mr. M.S. Parthasarathi in UCO Bank. He was far more brilliant academically and equally helpful to me. He was a master's degree holder from Loyola College and he passed each part of the CAIIB in only one attempt along with a paper on cooperation and industrial finance. He was most unassuming. I happened to be a supervisor at the CAIIB exam he took, and I remember asking him at the end of the day how he wrote, and he answered in such a way to make me think he might not pass. When the results were announced, he was first. I am reminded of the saying, empty vessels make noise. He was just the opposite, a vessel full of contents. The above two gentlemen, my guiding stars, can never be forgotten. Mr. MSP went on to become a big boss at Asian Development Bank in Manila. Mr. Santanam went on to become a general manager in BOI. It was probably my good luck that such a fine person as Mr. Santanam was promoted as general manager during my chairmanship of BOI. But to my utter dismay, I found that he was not comfortable with me and did not extend as much cooperation as I had expected. In retrospect, I am inclined to think that he was probably not able to accept me as his boss, although I respected him as one who guided me while I was in Andhra Bank. I was not doing him any favor by promoting him to general manager. He earned it on his own merits in due time. His attitude towards me has nothing to do with his personal to with his getting promoted as general manager. Friends on this page will please forgive me for sharing this personal matter, although it relates to the banking experience in an indirect way. Let me use this space to ask Mr. Santanam to pardon me if I had not lived up to his expectations. Normally, it would have been advisable to avoid reference to any individuals in public domain, but I am using this opportunity to make a confession and would therefore plead to be pardoned. Also, this is the first ever occasion for me to bring this matter in a public domain and prove that I never went out of the way to support or discredit anyone except purely on merits. My association with Sri Ram Samaj, where I started as a volunteer, continued until the year 1964. At that time, I was selected by Andhra Bank, and I have written separately about how I moved out of National Bank of India to Andhra Bank. In a short time, Andhra Bank Limited was able to establish agency arrangements with banks of good standing in various countries around the globe. In places like London, New York, Paris, and Tokyo, the bank also got certain lines of credit. This means that those banks would extend credit facilities to Andhra Bank up to a specified limit. This temporary facility was needed when those banks had to honor drawings due to negotiation of bills drawn under the LCs opened by Andhra Bank. The appreciable part of all this was that the top management of my bank gave a lot of freedom to me to handle these matters independently. They also gave me a lot of encouragement. Whenever senior executives of those foreign correspondents visited India, the Andhra Bank used to invite them for dinner. Such events took place in Madras, and to mark the occasion, the chief executive and one or two other executives used to visit the city for this purpose. On one such occasion, my top boss, about whom I will refer to in a short while, suggested that I should take some alcoholic drinks, as otherwise it may be considered a discourtesy to the visitors. But I stood my ground, and to this day I have never tasted alcohol or any non vegetarian food at any time of my life. Sometime soon after I joined the bank, there was a conference for the officers held at Vijayawada, about 280 miles away from in the state of Andhra Pradesh. This place, which is now being considered for locating the capital of the recently separated Andhra Pradesh upon the formation of Telangana state in June 2014, is a very hot place. Even at night, the temperature used to be around 110 degrees Fahrenheit. I was invited to attend this conference and was asked to present a paper and give a talk on foreign exchange. More than the talk, what I remember to this date is the lunch served at the conference. I was visiting Vijayawada for the first time in my life, and the lunch was a typical Andhra meal that is very famous for its highly pungent taste. The Andhra pickle is something that only person who has tasted it can understand and appreciate. Preparation of Andhra pickle, which is similar to the mango pickle, is called avakka, is a ritual among Andhra families, and only those with knowledge of it can appreciate the sanctity that is attached to the manner in which they are prepared, stored, and retrieved. Pickles are prepared to last for a whole year. Normally, the lady of the house does not enter the room where the pickles are stored unless she took a shower and wore fresh clothes. The pickle room were akin to a puja room. At the lunch of the conference, right from the commencement until the very end, ghee was served in no small quantity and was simply poured from a kettle like vessel. This ghee was also something that was very specially prepared. To a great extent, this ghee neutralized the pungent effect of the pickles. Otherwise, the person who consumed these hot pickles would curse himself the next morning when he would rush to answer his call of nature. Reserve Bank of India used to run a bankers training college in Dadar, Mumbai. This catered to the need for training bank officers in various courses from the ordinary routine banking to specific subjects such as foreign exchange and industrial finance, etc. It was only much later that the National Institute of Bank Management came into existence and was functioning from Pune. Reserve Bank had since closed the BTC and the beautiful building was remaining unused in bad shape. I lived close by and occasionally walked along the street and recollected my days in the college in 1964 when I was deputed by Andhra Bank to undergo the training in FE in their third course. At that time, one Mr. T.G. Vaswani was the principal of the college on deputation from RBI. There were excellent teachers or lecturers who taught me the intricacies of dealing in FE, selling and buying, maintaining near square position, and how the daily exchange rates were fixed, etc. I was a very serious and studious participant, and it is with pleasure that I recall I was judged as the best student of that course, in which there were nearly 30 participants from various banks. Lest I should forget, one of the lecturers later became a member of the board of directors of the Bank of India and subsequently CMD of Bank of Maharashtra. Yet another, who became the principal of BTC, was also on new Bank of India's board under my chairmanship. In due course of time, I had become the vice chairman of the governing council of BTC. In 1964, I visited Bombay for the first time. I recall greatly appreciating the discipline of the public of standing in a queue at every bus stop. Unless you had lived there and seen it in those days, you would not believe that there was more than one person standing at a bus stop. A queue was automatically formed, and the second man stood behind the first man, etc. While I was undergoing the training, the chief executive of the Andhra Bank Limited, the late Tumpudi Ranganatha Bhagavat, he was called the general manager, was also on a visit to Bombay and was staying at the Taj Hotel. Having worked in five different banks in five different states for nearly 43 years under different managements and different bosses, if I am to ask to name one person whom I would consider as a kind hearted, knowledgeable, and easy to approach, unhesitatingly I would mention the name of T.R. Bhagwat, the then general manager of the Andhra Bank Limited. Even with the distance of time, when I think of him, my eyes well up with tears. He was an advocate turned banker, hailing from a high respectable family. There is a road in Chennai named after his father Sri Bhagavatam Gupta. T.R. Bhagwat's son Sri T.K.K. Bhagwat was also a banker and rose to the position of Chief Officer DBOD RBI and later was the chairman and managing director of the Bank of Maharashtra in Pune. Today he is happily settled and lives in Bengaluru. As I was undergoing a specialized training in FE at the RBI's BTC, I wanted to use the opportunity of my boss visiting Bombay to call on him and pay my respects, so I telephoned him. He was kind on the phone and inquired about the training. He said that I need not take the trouble of going to meet him, and if I had something to tell him, I could do so on the phone. At the very end, very nervously, I asked him if he could consider transferring me to head office in Hyderabad so I could be working directly under him. By that time, the HO of the bank had shifted to Hyderabad from Masulipatnam. He said that he would consider my request. The reason for my asking for the transfer was my wife's miserable condition in the joint family home. Believe me, most unexpectedly, and even before my training course was over, I was offered a transfer posting me as superintendent foreign exchange in the head office. My joy and of course my wife's too knew no bounds. As I was working in the foreign exchange department of Andhra Bank in Madras and was in charge of the department, I was sent to the BTC to attend a 6-week course on foreign exchange at the Bankers Training College, Bombay. It was the third batch since RBI started this course. I was probably the youngest in the class of about 30 participants and needless to say with the least academic background. While all the others were at least graduates in various disciplines, I was only a mere FA. This is a Fellow of Arts, a 2 year course undertaken after passing out of school, and it needed to be acquired in those days before one could become a graduate, which required a further 2 year course. I passed my intermediate exam FA as an external candidate from Madhya Pradesh University in Bhopal in 1962. I travelled from Madras to Bhopal by train and stayed in a hotel during the period of the exams. The hotel I was staying in was very ordinary and cheap as that was all I could afford at the time. The food prepared and served in that hotel used to be made with mustard oil, the smell of which was nauseating. Travel to Bhopal was also my first long journey by train. The entire exercise of my taking this step was greatly made easy by the tutorial college in Madras, wherein I had enrolled myself as an external candidate. They had made all the arrangements for my travel to and from Bhopal as well as my boarding and lodging. After obtaining the distinction of becoming an intermediate, I started dreaming to become a graduate, which would take another decade to accomplish. Reverting to my days in the Bankers Training College, I recall that it was a great experience to stay in their compound in the Cadell Road, Dadar, Bombay 28. It had a hostel attached to it, and every room in it had double occupancy. The principal, Mr. Vaswani, was also stayed within the campus in a bungalow. I came in contact with my contemporaries from various other banks. The college was well known for maintaining strict discipline and punctuality, and I learned some useful qualities from this experience. I was a meticulous student. I followed the lectures with all seriousness, took copious notes, and got them corrected by the lecturers themselves immediately thereafter. Perhaps this impressed the faculty, and at the end of 6 weeks' course, I was judged best student of the batch. My roommate was one Mr. Nazira Badwala from Central Bank of India. He was a very nice Parsi gentleman. He even took the trouble of showing me a bit of Bombay as it was the first time I had visited the city. He entertained me in a restaurant that was not far from the college. Incidentally, I am now living in a flat in Prabhadevi, Lloyd's Garden, which is almost halfway between the college and the restaurant, which is both of which have stood the test of time for more than 40 years. They both are equidistant from my house. Sadly, as of October 20, 2016, when I am revising this autobiography, I record with regret that the BTC of RBI has closed down and the entire complex of buildings have been demolished. My training program also proved to be another important turning point of my life. At Madras, we were living as a joint family. My parents, my younger brother and sister, my wife, son, and I were living in a portion of a house in West Mambalam. Those days were perhaps the hardest day that my wife Sulochana had to contend with. She came to our family when she was hardly 17, and yet she had to take the burden of managing the course of the entire family. Whether she was in good health or not, whether she was nursing a child or pregnant, was of no concern to the elders and others in the family. She was not treated with any human consideration, and she bore this patiently. It is really a pity that I failed miserably in my duty as a husband to give her comfort and support. With the distance of time, I analyzed my behavior towards my wife and come to conclusion that apart from the blind faith I had all that my mother did was the right thing, I was also blind to Sulochana's sufferings, and I admit that I was a total disappointment to her. My wife never missed an opportunity to charge me for my behavior in spite of repeatedly accepting my failure as a husband. This exercise has been repeated many times, and Sulochana's feelings are so deep rooted that on each and every occasion she gave vent to her feelings as if this ill treatment of hers happened only yesterday. The narration above is to connect it with what follows. Sulochana was convinced that if we were to bring up our son Sridhar in a proper way, the least we should do is to get out of the joint family arrangements, living in Madras itself, but seeking to live separately from the family, would have been construed as a great blow to my parents. The best alternative was to find a way of getting out of Madras by seeking a transfer to another city. During those days, the Andhra Bank was the only banker for the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. Even though there was a branch of the Bank in Tirupati, the Madras branch was closely connected with TTD as much as the cash collected in temple for various sevas and through the hundi were to pick up frequently by the Madras branch and credited to the account of TTD. This gave me some opportunities to go in the cash van of the bank to the hills, collecting the money and return back. Sometime we also participated in counting the daily collections at the temple. Our services were amply compensated by the special treatment given to us for having darshan of Srivaru apart from sumptuous prasadams. When I joined the Andhra Bank at Madras on May 10, 1960, the manager of the branch was Mr. Chitta Subramaniam Garu, who subsequently left the bank and joined RBI, but after a short while he passed away. Thereafter, there were other managers. At the bank, as the bank grew, a divisional office was carved out, and one Mr. Bhairava Potla Krishnamurti Garu was holding the post of divisional manager. He is also no more. All these persons gave me a lot of encouragement in my work. I knew that some of them were playing politics, telling tales against each other, but I kept myself studiously away from such activities. For me, the only concern was to do good work, encourage people who worked with me, and nothing else. This stood me in good stead, as we shall see. Returning from the third foreign exchange course at BTC, Bombay, with a good report of my work there and with the transfer order to Hyderabad was a real joy. That was October 1964. From my birth till that time, we had lived as a joint family, and it was difficult to leave the parental home and set up a separate family, albeit in a different city. I was I was an important breadwinner, and so even my parents were reluctant to allow me to go to Hyderabad. However, considering the future of my career and assured of my financial support to my parents, we were finally able to pack our bags and leave. Following up on the training in BTC, I was sent to Union Bank of India Foreign Department in Bombay for a month's training. It was a very useful practical experience. Union Bank had its head office at that time in their own building opposite the Bombay Stock Exchange. Their foreign department was set up by Mr. Bob Angus of Westminster Bank Limited, London, a few years earlier. I learnt many new functions such as buying and selling of currencies, expanding agency arrangements, and the issuing of guarantees, etc. Mr. S. A. Kamath, a co-student with me at BTC, was also working in that department and he helped me a lot. Much later, after I became the CMD, he also became the chairman of that bank. Luckily, during the interim period of getting transfer order and the actual moving out of Madras, I was in Hyderabad to give lectures on FE and at the staff training college of the bank. Practically, I was running the course because I was probably the only one who knew the subject. I recall a saying in Tamil that, if translated loosely, would read, "A man who blabbers is better than a man who is dumb." From the reports gathered later from the students and the principal, it looked that I was not really blabbering. I was handling almost the entire course single handedly, talking to students for more than 4 hours on a daily basis. During that time, and with the help of a person named Mr. Kailasam, who was doing some printing work for the bank, I was able to find a small portion in a house in Himayat Nagar for a monthly rent of rupees 140. If I remember correctly, the name of the printing press was Layton Printers and its owner was Mr. Kailasam. He helped me in this due to the instructions given to him by my boss, Mr. T.V. Subramaniam, a deputy general manager who came from Indian Overseas Bank. Giving lectures on foreign exchange subjects continued even after I was transferred to Hyderabad and started working at the head office. Once the lecture was over, I had to return to my desk and do the routine work. As the training classes were held on the top floor of the Sultan Bazar building of the bank and my desk was on the first floor, not much time was lost in transit. My wife did not want to delay our getting out of the joint family home, so as soon as I returned from Hyderabad, she was prepared to move straight away along with our only son at that time. He was just 5 years old. It was not a difficult job of shifting for us, as all that we had were just a few clothes, a bedsheet, and a pillow. We did not have too many kitchen utensils either. After we moved into this portion of the house, the neighbors who dropped in to see us were surprised how a family can have such a small amount of belongings. The place finalized by us was in Dr. Rangacharlu's house in Hardikar Bagh, Himayatnagar. It was a ground floor space with a small drawing room, a bedroom, a kitchen, a storeroom, and toilet, all in a continuous row like a railway compartment. The address was 36467A, Hardikar Bagh, Himayatnagar, Hyderabad 29. We travelled by train from Madras to Hyderabad and arrived on November 7, 1964. It happened to be one of the coldest days of the city. Coming as we did from Madras, where the climate was aptly described by the famous author R.K. Narayan as a city with only two types of climate, hot and hotter, it was bitterly cold for us. We had nothing like a bed to sleep on, and we gave the bed sheet and pillow to our son. We spread that day we spread that day's Hindu newspaper on the floor and slept on it. Thus began our independent life more than 6.5 years after our marriage. Need I add that my wife slept very peacefully that night. So did I too. Slowly, we started collecting things for the house, such as a water heater, two metal folding chairs, a small clothes hanger, and so on. A few days later, a pair of wooden cots were given to us by my father-in-law in our first night arrived by train. Looking back, those were perhaps the happiest days in our life together. Our son Sridhar was admitted to All Saints High School. As it was more than a mile away, he got a free lift in a cycle rickshaw, which was how Thangamma, daughter of Kailasam, used to get to her school located next to Sridhar's. In the year 1965, our second son, Shrikant, was born on August 9 at Skudar Memorial Hospital, Ranipet. During the time Sulochana went to her parents' house to deliver Shrikant, my younger sister Kalyani came and stayed with me in Hyderabad. The absence of Sulochana for almost 3 months made me miss her very much. I used to pray that she would come back to me hale and hearty. After she did come home in good health, my sister returned to Madras. On June 6, 1966, Andhra Bank had its board meeting in Bangalore at the Woodlands Hotel. I was asked to be there as the bank was going to recruit some officers. During the meeting, I was called inside and the chairman asked me about the turnover of the FE department that I was heading. I was facing the board for the first time in my life and I got nervous. I must have looked like a goat about to get sacrificed. Practically, I did not reply at all. I think the directors must have realized my discomfort and allowed me to go away. But even when I was standing before the board, the divisional manager, Mr. Krishnamurthy, who was also there, was called and asked the same question. He immediately answered in Telugu that the turnover could be about 5, 6, 7, or 8 crores. What a profound reply. When the meeting was over, my beloved general manager Sri Bhagwat Garu asked me why I was so mute and why I could not have bluffed like our DM. I still do not know whether this remark embarrassed Mr. Krishnamurthy. It was on that day that Andhra Bank recruited Mr. Poonam as officer to be posted in Bombay. In a way, I was responsible for his appointment as he was to look after the foreign exchange department of the bank in Bombay. Poonam became my lifelong friend from that day. The chapter Back to Banking, Andhra Bank, Hyderabad, continuing. Thank you very much for your patience. Please like and share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel.